If you want to be happier, don't try to change others. And this is because we fundamentally can't change other people. Other people are separate from ourselves, and they have their own thoughts, beliefs, opinions, and therefore behaviors. But if we try to manipulate others just so that they fit a certain criteria so that we can be happy, then we will constantly be frustrated, stressed, and anxious. And so this goes for anything. It's not even just for other people. It could be events. It could be even our own thoughts for this matter, because we can't necessarily control those things too, or even some emotions that arise in the present moment. So what do we do about all of these things that are seemingly uncontrollable? What we do is, instead of trying to change these things, we love them just as they are. This includes people, this includes thoughts, and it includes our emotions. And something beautiful happens when we shift from trying to change something to simply loving it. Love is a transformer. It melts all illusions and anything in its way to bring out the best of whatever it actually is. It reveals the truth, really. An example of this is if we are constantly trying to force someone to change, or even if someone is trying to force change onto us, how do we feel about that? We very rarely like being told what to do, what to feel, how we should act, what we should do in life. And if we are constantly trying to tell other people those things, then friction will start to arise in the relationship and resentment will build. And that's when we kind of blow up into arguments and say things that we regret or things that we don't mean and really hurt each other. And so the better option is to simply love someone. And when we do that, instead of trying to make them behave a certain way, act a certain way, which of course causes friction, we just simply love them. And when we love someone just as they are, they actually begin to change. But that's not the point of love. When we try to force change, then we are focusing on something external. But when we focus on love, that is something internal that we can bring to the external. And that is something we can always control. We can always control whether we love someone or not. So as you do this, and something begins to frustrate you with other people, see how you can begin to love them more. What are some ways that you can support them, to encourage them? Because at the end of the day, why do people do what they do? If it is rooted in destructive behavior, there's a reason behind this destructive behavior. It's more important to discover why than to argue about what they're doing. Because if you discover why they're doing it and they feel seen, heard, and understood, then they begin to change. But it is only when we approach it through the lens of love that we can ever fully understand someone for them to feel that way. And if you look at human behavior, and again, things that are destructive, all of it is rooted in fear. Anything that we do to harm others, to harm ourselves, is deeply embedded and rooted in fear itself. And it's the fear of being lonely, fear of not being enough, fear of never finding someone, fear of failure. It doesn't matter what it is. It all boils down to fear. And so when you see someone and interact with someone, your family, your friends, doesn't matter who it is, and there seems to be conflict arising, or you want them to change or anything like that, or they're doing something that is harming themselves or others, it's important to understand that it's coming from a place of fear and to explore what that is that they're truly afraid of, rather than arguing about what they should be doing instead. And so once someone feels seen, heard, and understood, they begin to change. Not because you told them to, but because they finally feel like someone knows them, that someone understands that they don't necessarily want to do these things that are destructive, but they can't help it because they're so confused in their minds and they don't know who they are anymore. And so the more that you ask questions, come from a place of love and curiosity, that is how you can help people much more than trying to change them in some sort of superficial way. And the same is true for ourselves. If we are struggling with some sort of destructive behaviors, what are we fearing? What are we running away from? What emotions are we trying to avoid or suppress? And instead of judging it or trying to change that emotion or whatever thoughts are coming up, simply love them. See them as they are. What are they trying to tell you? What needs aren't being met? And where is the imbalance in your life? What is the belief that we're holding on to that is creating these emotions that may not necessarily that we may not necessarily want to hold on to anymore? And so, again, changing the world, changing others, all of it starts with ourselves every single time. We can't avoid this because if we want to change things on a global level, I mean, any global change starts individually. And when we all change as individuals, that's how global change happens. But everyone is so focused on the external and we forget where the true change comes from. So always bring the focus back to yourself, back to how we are reacting to our thoughts and emotions. What beliefs do we have that we're holding on to that may not be conducive to how we want to feel? And to bring love to every single part of our lives. The more that we do that, the more that we change. And the more that we change, the more that we inspire others to do the same. And that is how we change the world, one person at a time. And I hope this helps. And thank you so much for being here. I love you all.